Hey guys, welcome back to our Swordfish 101 series. Today we're going to answer the question that you have, which is, what the heck do I need to take in my tackle box when I go sword fishing? And don't worry, you've come to the right place. Today we're going to break down every single item that we carry in our tackle box and the reason why we carry it and why you need to carry it when you go sword fishing. This is going to prepare you to be a better sword fisherman and catch your fish of a lifetime. Sword fishing is a very detailed fishery. Needs a lot of preparation, and the last thing that you want is to need one of these tackle items when you're 20 plus miles offshore and not have it and you can't keep fishing. Spend a lot of money on fuel, tackle, bait, food, and drinks to get out there, and our job today is to teach you what you need to take to make you a better fisherman. So what we do is we carry all of our tackle in 2 Shimano bags. And the reason for this is you want to have a good organized process where you don't leave anything behind when you go fishing. So we've organized it into 2 bags that we could easily put on the boat and take off the boat. And you want to be able to take it off the boat because if you leave the stuff on the boat, they're going to get rusty and corroded. And you want to be able to clean it and take it off of the boat every single time so all of your tackle stays like the day you bought it. The first thing that we're going to get into is our extra line. And we carry 2 extra spools on our boat all the time. We fish 2 rods. We fish a tip rod and a jug rod, and we've got a spare spool for each one of those 2 rods. In addition to the spare spools, we also carry 2 quick release knobs for the LP reel, just in case when we're taking off the spool, we drop it in the water, or when we're putting the spool back on and you're screwing it in with the waves, you drop it in the water. Normally, I would tell you carry 1. We like to prepare for worst case scenario. If I need to use both of them, I've had a really bad day because that means I drop 2 of them in the water. But we always carry 2. If you drop 1 in the water, you're dead in the water and you can't fish with your LP. So at a minimum, we would suggest to carry 1 on the boat. The other thing that we carry is we carry multiple wind-on leaders. It is not uncommon that you've got to swap out a leader out there on the fishing grounds. It's very easy. You have it in your bag, you take it out of the bag, you do another bimini twist, you attach it with a cat's paw, and you're back to fishing again. If you're not sure how to do those, we have 2 videos that show you how to tie the bimini twist and how to attach your wind-on leader using the cat's paw connection. We also carry 2 yo-yos on the boat with spare buoy marks. And I'll tell you guys, this is a game changer. We came up with this idea with Elias at Miami Fishing Supply. And if you're out there and you lose line in the summertime here, we have a lot of sargassum weed, and that stuff attaches to your jug and your line, and it starts degrading your line, and it can break it. It's happened to us. And if you break your line, now you have no way of fishing a jug rod. You could use your spare spool, which we have it with our marks. But what if you broke that too? Then you're dead in the water with your jug rod. So what we did is we made these yo-yos, and these yo-yos start from 0 all the way to our first mark, which we run 4 marks, 1400, 1500, 1600, and 1700 for the area that we fish. But right now this is wound up from 0 all the way to the last mark. And this last mark has the Dacron loop, same thing you would see on your wind-on leader. Let's say you lose everything, you tie your bimini twist, you take your bimini twist and this cat's paw, your Dacron loop, you stick it in, you're gonna wind this yo-yo on the same as you would the wind-on leader. You're gonna tighten your cat's paw connection, and then you're gonna wind this onto your reel, and at the end of this, you've got another Dacron loop where you're gonna take your wind-on leader and you're gonna wind it on and do another cat's paw, and now you're ready to go fishing again. If you don't have something like this on the boat, there's no way that you can accurately measure the depth that your buoy marks are at. You could do it measuring the revolutions, but even if you were going to do it by measuring the revolutions and tying on buoy marks, it'll take you a good hour and a half to set up your jug rod again. And that's time that you're wasting from catching your swordfish. The other thing that we carry on the boat is spare lead lines. And if you fish in Miami, you know that Miami is very rocky, has a lot of coral ledges. It is a nightmare if you get snagged on the bottom. You're gonna lose everything, your whole rig, lead, all of that. So we carry an additional 2 spare lead lines on our boat, And we've got them wound up in these little wheels that we picked up at Bass Pro Shop, and they make for an excellent storage inside of your tackle bag. Now, in addition to the spare lead lines, remember what we told you before, we like to plan everything for the worst case scenario. We carry additional tackle so that we can make our own lead lines out on the boat. We carry our pre-cut 6-foot Dacron. We carry our snap swivels. We carry our regular swivels that you're going to tie on, and these are different. These are the cheaper ones. You can use these on your lead line, but you can't use these on your connections with your wind-on leader. You got to use ball bearing swivels for that. We also carry on the boat, in case we lose our 2 lead lines, we lose our 3 backup pre-cut pieces that we have. And let's say we lose everything again, we carry snap swivels, so we could easily take our wind-on leader, cut 6 feet off of it if we have to. We're gonna crimp on a long line clip, and on the other end, we're going to crimp on our snap swivel. Then we're gonna clip that snap swivel to the lead, and we're back to fishing in 10 minutes. If you guys wanna see some detail around how to make your own lead lines, check out our video that we have in our Swordfish 101 series, where we go into detail on how to make our lead lines, what we use, and the reasons why we use what we use. As we continue to dive through our tackle bag, we're gonna get now to our Harpoon tackle items that we carry on the boat. And we've got our Harpoon set up with the paint stick method. And we're working on a video that we're gonna post in the next coming weeks to show you how to rig your own Harpoon. But we carry an additional, a spare paint stick on the boat, just in case one of the 2 that we have breaks. In addition to the extra paint stick, we carry a spare dart tip on the boat that fits both of our Harpoons, just in case one of them gets damaged and we have to swap one out. We've never had to do this, but in the event that we do have to do it, we're ready to easily clip the old one off, slide the new one on, and clip it onto our Harpoon line, and we're back to fishing again. And like I said before, we always fish with 2 Harpoons on the boat. I highly recommend that if you're going to get into sword fishing, you use 2 Harpoons, because we've had a lot of fish that you stick it with 1 Harpoon and it dumps 1,000 feet off of your reel and your Harpoon line with a Harpoon in it, and you've got to fight that fish back to the boat. And when you get it boat side, you need to be able to stick another Harpoon in that fish to land it. This next section that I'm going to cover in our tackle box is extremely important. These items are items that we use multiple times a day when we're sword fishing. This is our gear rigging tackle items. We're gonna go through them one by one and explain why we have it and why you need to have it. The first thing that we come across in our tackle bag is our scissors. And you really wanna have a good pair of scissors. Spend the money and get a good pair of scissors. You can't use regular household scissors. They're not gonna give you the ability to be able to cut your leader and have a smooth finished cut on the end. And this is gonna prevent you from being able to slide on your crimp easily. The next thing that we have is our 250-pound and 300-pound aluminum sleeves that you use to crimp on your ball bearing swivels and your bait to the end of your ball bearing swivel to fish. We use these multiple times a trip. Every time you have to change a bait, you're gonna cut it and re-crimp it. And we highly recommend that you don't use snap swivels on your bait, as those can open and you'll wind up losing your fish. I would recommend that you crimp every one of your connections. It's the best way to do it to ensure that you're gonna land your fish. The next thing that you're gonna wanna ensure that you have is chafing gear. Don't ever rig your stuff without the chafing gear. It's gonna break when you're fighting a fish, and the last thing that you want, and I say this in all of our videos, guys, because I see so many people that it happens to, and I hear it out there on the radio. They're fighting a fish, they have tackle failure on things that they cut corners on and they could have prevented. So we carry our horseshoe chafing protectors, which is what we put on our wind-on leader to the ball bearing swivel, and then from the ball bearing swivel we also put it on going to our bait. And this is going to ensure that while you're tugging on that, and the fish is pulling and you're pulling back up and the waves are going up and down, your line is not going to break in that ball bearing swivel. The other thing that we carry is these little sleeve protectors. And these little sleeve protectors that go on your wind-on leader to the ball bearing swivel connector, and it gives a nice cover over your crimp to prevent your leader from circling around and getting caught behind your crimped connector. Now, you've heard me talking about the ball bearing swivels. If you're not sure what they look like, this is what they look like. You absolutely have to spend the money and use these. They're pricey, but in the end, it's going to give you the result that you want. If you go the cheap route, you're going to have tackle failure, and it could cost you the fish of a lifetime. I would highly recommend spend the money, get the right ball bearing swivels, and you'll be set up for success. The other thing we have for our gear rigging is you gotta have spare deep drop lights, and you gotta have spare rubber bands on the boat. Get a bunch of them. They don't take a lot of space in your bag, but these lights, they go out. And the last thing that you want is to be fishing, you pull up your rig, you're gonna reset another drift, your lights aren't working. And if your lights aren't working, you're not gonna get bites. Your success rate is gonna go very low. And you wanna be able to easily cut your connection off, slide the old lights on, put the new lights on, and put your rubber band around it. And again, like I said, in 10 minutes, you're back to fishing again. We like to use the white and multicolor strobe lights. But I'll tell you, I've got a lot of friends, they fish different colors, green, blue, white. Some guys fish 3 lights on it. We like to fish 2. We used to fish 3, we started fishing 2. We don't really see any advantage to using 3. You just save on 1 less light that you're using in your rig. The next thing, guys, that you want to have from a gear rigging perspective is a good set of crimpers. And I'll tell you, these are pricey as well. I think this is $100, $120. But spend the money and get the good ones, okay? These are not gonna break, okay? They're gonna last forever. You just have to clean them every time you come down and spray down. You see ours looks white. That's not salt. We spray it with white lithium grease when we get back. But I will tell you, this is a must-have to have the right ones. If you're down a crimper, you can't fish. It's that simple. And I'll tell you, before we spent the money on this, we had the little cheap handheld one. And we had one day we got out there to start our first drift. We went to do our crimp, and that crimper broke right here, and we lost one of the legs of it. Now we couldn't crimp. Okay, we were able to fish MacGyvering our crimps by smashing them with 2 leads, but it's just not ideal. It's not the right way to do it. You're gonna get creases in that crimp that's gonna cut your line. Save the hassle. Get yourself a good pair of crimpers. And if you're unsure how to do all of these connections, check out this video that we've got in our Swordfish 101 series, where we go into great detail on how you need to do all of your rigging connections to set you up for success. The next section that we're going to dive into our tackle box is our bait rigging tackle items that we carry on the boat. Now, while we highly recommend that every time you're going to go sword fishing, you leave that dock with bait for the day, we also like to take our rigging supplies so that if we catch fresh bait, we can rig it on the boat. Here in South Florida, we have a lot of mahi-mahi, and these fish make for excellent swordfish bait. If you do catch a mahi-mahi and you're going to use it for swordfish bait and you cut the belly out of the fish, always remember to leave the fish intact. In case it gets stopped by FWC, you can easily measure the fish. You're just going to cut the belly cavity out of it to use it for your bait. Leave the rest of the fish intact so it can easily be measured. And obviously, make sure that if you're using a mahi-mahi for swordfish bait, that it's a legal fish. Now, when we go fishing, we use our own baits that we rig ourselves. And we sell those baits at Miami Fishing Supply. If you want to stop by and pick some up, go and see Elias and he'll hook you up. But if you want to try to get into rigging your own bait, we also have this video, which is on our Swordfish 101 series, where we go into step-by-step detailed tutorial on how you could rig your own swordfish eel for swordfish bait. Now, let's dive into the items that you're going to need in your tackle box to rig your own bait. We use 50-pound tacky wax rigging flop. You're going to need to have a rigging needle. We like to use the close eye rigging needle because it just makes it a little bit smoother as you're going through the bait and pulling it out the other side. What we found is that the open eye needle gets caught on the skirt and the bait on the inside, and as you pull it, it continues to open, which makes it harder to push through the bait. Next, you're going to need to make sure that you have good stainless steel, sharp 10-0 or 11-0 hooks, and you're gonna need skirts to place on your finished rig bait to ensure that it swims correctly. And the last thing that you're gonna need is leader. So we use 300-pound Lindgren Pitman clear leader, 6 feet, on our bait that we rig. You're gonna need to have that in your tackle bag so you could cut that piece off and crimp it on to your rig bait. And the last thing that we have in our tackle bag, guys, it has nothing to do with tackle, but when you're sword fishing, you want to make sure that everything on your boat is extremely organized. You don't want to have things in the wrong spot, laying around, cords dragging everywhere. And so the last item that we have are zip ties. And we use our zip ties so that we can coil up our power cord for our Lindgren Pitman reel. Guys, I know that that's a lot of detail that we gave you, but it takes a lot of detail and a lot of preparation to catch these amazing fish. Like I said at the beginning of the video, you don't want to spend all the money in fuel, tackle, bait, gear, food, and go all the way out to the sword grounds and need any one of these items to continue your day of fishing, and you don't have it, and you have to cut your day short and come back. Now, if you're wondering what other gear items that you need to have besides your electric reels and all of the tackle that we covered today, stay tuned to the channel because we're working on another video. We're going to take you on the boat and we're going to show you every single item that we have from a gear perspective that we use when we're sword fishing. Stay tuned to the channel, guys. We've got a lot more content coming out with our Swordfish 101 series to try to help you become a better sword fisherman.